Okay, this is a very small corridor, but believe it or not, we are actually at Machu Picchu now. I've just come down through the check-in office, and through here, I think hopefully, should be the citadel. And here we are. This is it. It is huge. Now, I had no idea really what this place was until I took about a 3-hour tour, and I also don't know to what extent what the tour guide told me was true, but I want it to be true because it's wonderful. The theory is that this place was not a city per se. It's a citadel, but also a kind of university and a weather station. What we're looking at the moment, the big mountain behind the citadel, is Machu Picchu. That's where the high priest would have lived, but not high priest in the way that I think a lot of people think of high priests. It's almost more like chief scientist, chief meteorologist. And one of the main things they did up here was they made weather forecasts and weather predictions. And one of the reasons that this site is where it is that it's absolutely perfect for observing weather conditions, and their forecasts they sent throughout the Inca Empire. The people who studied here were priests and scholars, men and women, and they were the best and the brightest in the entire empire, apparently. And this place is massive, but according to my guide, only about 700 people lived here. It's an institution that can be I think very sensibly compared to the Vatican, actually. A very grand place for very few, very clever people. And it is absolutely mind-blowing. We're very high up. I don't even know what else to show you because there's so much. I'm gonna go, I think, and see if I can find some llamas, because I know there are some. Before I get onto the llamas, I just wanted to show you these. Those steps down the mountainside are Andeanas, which are farming terraces. And there's been all sorts of theories about what they grew here. For ages people just thought it was kind of potatoes and maize. They're actually all up here as well. It's very difficult to see, but right up this side of the mountain, up to that house at the top, these are all terraces. But according to my guide, and a pollen study done a few years ago, it was more like 70% medicinal plants, which supports the theory that they were testing out all sorts of things here. One of the important things that they grew here is one of the things I've written about in the Bedlam Stacks. It's quinine for the malaria, but also, according to my guide, they had a basic awareness of antibiotics and the mould that grows on corn. I don't know to what extent that's true. I'm going to have to go and look at JSTOR articles and things. But I really want to be convinced because this place is just so impressive. What we're looking at now is the main square. It's hard to get a sense of size, so I'm trying to show you some people. But according to my guide, you could fit about 12,000 people up here quite safely. And twice a year they did exactly that. At the summer solstice and the winter solstice, the high priest would come down from his little house at the top of Machu Picchu there, and he would address everyone from that little mount there beside the tree. And he would make predictions for the year, but not just predictions, they were more like forecasts. Having observed the weather and animal migrations and approached it with what really sounds like quite a lot of scientific thoroughness, they would predict if there were famines coming, if there were diseases coming, and they would explain what people needed to do and give orders. In the Inca Empire there were two leaders, one was the Sapa Inca in Cusco, but the second was the high priest here. So this would be, I think, quite an important event. And it sounds like it would have been quite a big party as well. I must show you this. This is the Temple of the Sun. And what I'm showing you here is how they're building bricks around the bedrock. And one of the things I'm really interested in is Quechua attitudes toward stone, whether they thought it was alive or not. I brought up the idea with my tour guide, who completely rubbished it and said, no, it's a different religion altogether. That doesn't line up with what I've read in English scholarship, and I get the feeling actually that you ask 5 different people about Incan religion or Quechua religion, you'll get 5 completely different answers. So the tour guide's idea is that there is a general respect for the earth, which is Pachamama, and that's why they're so careful about building around it. But he absolutely emphasised that they did not believe that the stone was alive, which is completely at odds with what I'd read. But I don't mind. It's so interesting to hear different people say different things about it. I don't know if you can see in there, but there are these lovely archways where apparently mummies would sit. Now it looks completely unremarkable, but actually I think the stonework here is the most impressive thing about it. I just want to show you the joinery. It is incredible. I don't think we could do this now with machines, or even, I don't know, maybe with a diamond drill. Now, one of the really interesting things about this is that they're not really building with right angles. As you can see, the walls slope. That's not because I'm holding the camera oddly. They slope upward, and it's because they're building things to be earthquake proof. Likewise, the angles of the bricks, none of them are quite right angles. And again, it's because it just makes it stronger whenever the ground trembles. Likewise, it's very hard to see now because the tour is going past. But likewise, these characteristic, it's just over there, damn, trapezium doorways, they lean inwards to put all the weight on the keystone. I'm just watching people go through now. And it means that the buildings last much, much longer, even with the earthquakes that trouble this part of the world all the time. They get tremors always, and a huge one every couple of 100 years. And this is just like a little snippet of a view down there. This is what I was trying to tell you about before, these trapezium-shaped windows with their very strong keystones. Earthquake proof. Absolutely fantastic. And up there is a really good view of the Andinas, the farming terraces. And I've got to go back to Agua Calientes now because I'm exhausted.